Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new video on the channel. And today guys, the 2024 AFL fixture has been announced. In today's video, we're going to be running through it. Opening round, of course, Sydney, Melbourne at the SCG on the Thursday night, Brisbane, Carlton, Friday night, Gabba, Gold Coast, Richmond, first game, early game, Saturday, Giants, Pies on the Saturday night. That's the opening round. Now we're going to go through the rounds, which we don't know. And round one is going to be Carlton and Richmond Thursday night at the MCG, the opening game. And the Thursday night games have come forward 10 minutes. The Friday night games have gone back 10 minutes. So the Thursday night games start later by 10 minutes. The Friday night games start earlier by 10 minutes. Collingwood Sydney on the Friday night of round one. Essendon Hawthorn first game Saturday. Giants North at Giants Stadium in the twilight. And then the Cats and the Saints at GMHBA on the Saturday night. And then Suns Crows also that night. Melbourne and the Dogs begins the Sunday action. Port Adelaide West Coast. And then Fremantle Brisbane with a bit of a new look Sunday system there for round one. Go to round two now. Thursday night will be the Saints and the Pies, the MCG. The Crows getting a Friday night game against the Cats in round two. North Melbourne and Fremantle will be the first game on the Saturday at Marvel. Hawthorn and the Demons in the twilight, and then the Swans and Essendon on Saturday night at the SCG. And then again, this new look Sunday, first game at Mars in round two for the Dogs against the Suns. And then it'll be the Tigers and the Power at the MCG. And then the Eagles and the Giants at Optus to finish with the Blues and Lions having their byes in this round. In round three, it'll be the Easter Thursday rematch, or the grand final rematch on Easter Thursday, should I say. Brisbane and Collingwood at the Gabba, North Melbourne and Carlton will be the Good Friday game. And then also on Good Friday, there's a nighttime game this time, Fremantle and Adelaide at Optus Stadium. Essendon and St Kilda will be the twilight game on the Saturday. Port Adelaide Melbourne, that Saturday night game. Doggies and the Eagles will be the Sunday first game, Sunday Tigers and Swans, the second game on the Sunday. Hawks, Cats, Easter Monday, and then Suns and Giants to have their byes in round three and round four. Now, the Crows will be hosting the Demons in Gather Round. Of course, it's Gather Round. Brisbane North, Port Adelaide Essendon on the Friday night. Brisbane North at Norwood, Port Adelaide Essendon the Adelaide Oval. West Coast Sydney at the Adelaide Hills to begin the Saturday. Fremantle Carlton, and then the Doggies and the Cats in doubleheader at the Adelaide Oval. Suns Giants to begin Sunday at the Adelaide Hills as well. Richmond Saints Norwood, and then Collingwood Hawthorn to finish the round at the Adelaide Oval. Round five now, we go to that. Melbourne Brisbane on the Thursday night at the MCG. Friday night Doggies Bombers at Marvel. And then on the Saturday, Giants Saints to begin. Then Carlton Adelaide at Marvel Stadium in the twilight. And then Saturday night will be the Suns and the Hawks, Port Adelaide and Fremantle. And then on the Sunday, Geelong and North to kickstart the action. And then West Coast and Richmond to close it out. Pies and the Swans will be having their byes in round five. Round six now, Saints Dogs Thursday night at Marvel. Another Friday night home game for the Crows, this time against the Bombers on the Friday night. First game Saturday of the round will be Pies and Port Adelaide. Carlton and the Giants will be the twilight game at Marvel. Brisbane Geelong Saturday night, along with West Coast and Fremantle the Derby. First game Sunday will be the Swans and the Suns at the SCG. North and Hawthorn will close out the round of footy. Richmond and Melbourne will be having their byes in round six. In round seven now, Wednesday night it'll be Richmond and Melbourne, the Anzac Eve game. Two games on Anzac Day. It'll be the Bombers and the Pies at the MCG, the traditional Anzac Day game. Then the Giants and the Lions that Thursday night. Friday night, Port Adelaide and the Saints, the Adelaide Oval first game Saturday North. And the Crows at Blunston. Geelong and Carlton in the twilight at the MCG. Fremantle Dogs to clash that night. Then the Suns and the Eagles will be at Heritage Bank Stadium to start Sunday's footy action. And then the Hawks and the Swans will finish round 7 at the MCG. Round 8 starts off with a huge showdown on Thursday night. Crows and Port at the Adelaide Oval. And then the Blues and the Pies on the Friday night. So two big derbies. And I see another one here. Swans and Giants. First game Saturday at the SCG. Saints North, the Saturday twilight game. Melbourne and Geelong Saturday night at the MCG. And then West Coast and Essendon and Optus also on the Saturday night. Then Sunday's footy action starts with Richmond and Fremantle at the MCG, Doggies and Hawks at Marvel, and then a late Sunday night's game, well not really late, but a Sunday night game, Brisbane and the Suns, the Q clash at the Gabba in a later Sunday night time slot. Round 9 will begin with Carlton and Melbourne at the MCG on the Thursday night, then a double Friday night header here on round 9, considering it's the Mother's Day round. Geelong and Port Adelaide at GMHBA Stadium, and then Fremantle and Sydney at Optus Stadium that night as well. First game Saturday will be the Saints travelling down to Utah Stadium to play the Hawks. Essendon and the Giants at Marvel Stadium. Richmond and the Dogs Saturday night at the MCG, and then at TIO Stadium the Suns and North Melbourne as well. Collingwood and West Coast starts Sunday's footy action at Marvel, and then the Crows and the Lions finishes at the Adelaide Oval. Round 10 starts with Gold Coast playing a Thursday night game against the Cats at TIO Stadium. Friday night of that round will be the Swans and the Blues at the SCG. Collingwood and Adelaide starts Saturday's footy action at the G. Then the Giants and the Dogs will be going head-to-head at Giants Stadium in the twilight. Fremantle and St Kilda Marvel Stadium Saturday night. That's game 1. Game 2 is Brisbane and Richmond at the Gabba on the Saturday night as well. Essendon and Hawthorn kick-starts what looks to be a kind of normal Sunday to what we've seen this year at Marvel. Port Adelaide and Hawthorn go head-to-head at the Adelaide Oval in probably what will be a Channel 7 Sunday game. And then to finish the round will be West Coast and Melbourne at Optus Stadium. Round 11 now. And it'll be the Doggies and the Swans Thursday night Marvel. Friday night, Fremantle to play Collingwood at Optus Stadium. That is a big game there for the Dockers. They get a Friday night game in Perth. North Melbourne and Port Adelaide to kickstart Saturday's footy action at Blunston. And then same time, Carlton and Suns at Marvel. And then GMHBA Stadium will host Geelong and the Giants in the twilight. And then a standalone Dreamtime Saturday night game for the Tigers and the Bombers. Hawks and Lions will start Sunday. Melbourne and St Kilda will probably be the Channel 7 game. Then Crows West Coast in a very normal Sunday will finish it off. Round 12 now. And that starts with a Thursday night game, Port Adelaide and Carlton at the Adelaide Oval. That one, definitely a big one. And then Friday night is even bigger. Collingwood and the Dogs in a Collingwood home game at Marvel. First game Saturday will be the Hawks and the Crows at the MCG. The Eagles will get a twilight game against the Saints at Optus. And then the Cats and the Tigers will go head-to-head Saturday night at GMHBA as well. The Tigers going down to Geelong. And then Melbourne and Fremantle will start off Sunday's footy action at TIO Traeger Park. And then the Suns and the Bombers will finish around at Heritage Bank Stadium. And the clubs having byes, Brisbane, North, Sydney and the Giants in round 12. In round 13, the Crows getting a Thursday night game this time against the Tigers at the Adelaide Oval. And then it'll be the Doggies and the Lions, Friday night Marvel Stadium. Hawks and Giants first game Saturday, UTAS. And then the Hawks and West Coast and North in the twilight at Optus Stadium. St Kilda and Gold Coast Saturday night. Then Sunday will be the Swans and the Cats. Sunday night game will be Essendon and Carlton, the King's Birthday Eve game. Before then Collingwood and Melbourne go head-to-head on the Monday in the King's Birthday game. Big Freeze game, Port Adelaide and Fremantle having byes in this round. Round 14, we'll see a Friday night game between the Lions and the Saints at the Gabba. First game Saturday will be the Doggies and the Dockers at Marvel. Then Richmond and Hawthorn will be the twilight game in the MCG. Crows Swans Saturday night. North Melbourne Collingwood in a North Melbourne home Marvel Stadium game. Then the Giants and the Power finish things off at Giants Stadium. Gold Coast, Carlton, Geelong, Essendon, Melbourne and West Coast having their byes in round 14. Now in round 15, Carlton and Geelong Friday night game at the MCG. First game Saturday, Port Adelaide and Brisbane. Then it'll be the Sydney Derby between the Giants and the Swans in that Saturday twilight time slot. Melbourne and North, the Saturday night game of this round. Essendon and West Coast is the first game on the Sunday. Fremantle, Gold Coast at Optus finishes the round. Crows, Collingwood, the Doggies, Hawks, Saints and Tigers having their byes. Now to round 16, and these are date and times to be confirmed. Brisbane and Melbourne at the Gabba. Geelong and Essendon at the Geelong home game, MCG, believe it or not, Geelong and Essendon. And then Gold Coast and Collingwood at Heritage Bank Stadium. North Melbourne and the Doggies at Marvel. Richmond and Carlton at the MCG. Saints and Port at Marvel. The Swans and the Dockers at the SCG. Crows and Giants at the Adelaide Oval. And then West Coast and Hawthorn and Optus to finish round 16. Round 17 starts off with the Lions and the Crows at the Gabba. Collingwood and Essendon at the MCG. Geelong and Hawthorn at GMHBA. So quite a few Victorian clubs going down to GMHBA this season, it seems to be. Giants and the Blues at Giants. Melbourne and West Coast at the MCG. North Melbourne, Gold Coast at Marvel. St Kilda and Sydney at Marvel. Port Adelaide and the Dogs at the Adelaide Oval, and Fremantle and Richmond and Optus. Round 18 now starts off with Collingwood and Geelong at the MCG. Won't start off with that. That's just one of the games in that round. Sorry about that. Gold Coast and Port Adelaide Heritage Bank Stadium. Hawthorn and Freo at UTAS. So Freo go down to UTAS. Melbourne and Essendon in the MCG. Richmond and GWS at the MCG. Sydney and North at the SCG. Doggies and Blues at Marvel. Adelaide and St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. And then West Coast and Brisbane will clash at Optus Stadium. That is a big one. That has been definitely an overdue matchup. Potentially could have been in that round 1, but round 18 is when it will be. Round 19, Brisbane and Sydney at the Gabba, Carlton and North at Marvel, Western and Adelaide at Marvel, Geelong and the Dogs at GMHBA, GWS and Gold Coast at Giants, Hawthorn and Collingwood at the MCG, St Kilda and West Coast at Marvel, and then Port Adelaide, Richmond at the Adelaide Oval, and Fremantle and Melbourne at Optus Stadium, round 20 now. And that has Carlton and Port Adelaide at Marvel, Collingwood and Richmond at the MCG, the second Q clash, Gold Coast and Brisbane at Heritage Bank Stadium, Melbourne and the Giants at the MCG, North and Geelong at Blunston, St Kilda and Essendon at Marvel, Sydney and the Dogs at the SCG, Crows and Hawks at the Adelaide Oval, and then the second Derby, Fremantle and West Coast at Optus. Round 21 has got Collingwood and Carlton at the MCG, Essendon and Fremantle and Essendon MCG home game, Geelong and Adelaide, GMHBA, Giants and Hawks at Manuka, North Melbourne and Richmond at Marvel, St Kilda and Lions at Marvel, Doggies and Demons at Marvel, Port Adelaide and Sydney at the Adelaide Oval, West Coast and Gold Coast at Optus Stadium. Round 22 now. Brisbane and the Giants at the Gabba, Carlton and Hawthorn at the MCG, Essendon and Suns at Marvel, Melbourne and Port Adelaide at the MCG, North and West Coast at Blunston, and then Richmond and St Kilda at Marvel, which is a Richmond home game, believe it or not. Swans and Pies at the SCG, Crows and Dogs at the Adelaide Oval, and then Fremantle and Geelong at Optus Stadium to finish round 22. Round 23 kicks off with the second grand final rematch, this time at the MCG. The Pies and the Lions, Essendon and Sydney at Marvel, Gold Coast, Melbourne, Heritage Bank Stadium, Giants, Dockers at Giants Stadium, Hawthorn and Richmond at the MCG, St Kilda and Geelong at Marvel, the Doggies and the Kangaroos at Marvel, second showdown, Port Adelaide and Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval, and then West Coast and Carlton as well in round 23. Round 24, the final round, Brisbane Essendon at the Gabba, Carlton and St Kilda at Marvel, Geelong and the West Coast at GMHBA, Hawthorn and North at Utah Stadium, Melbourne and Collingwood at the MCG, Richmond and Gold Coast at the MCG, Sydney and Adelaide at the SCG, Doggies and Giants at Mars, and Fremantle and Port Adelaide at Optus Stadium. That is a full fixture, and I've gone through that in 11 and a half minutes, so feel free to let me know your thoughts on this fixture. It is a pretty good one, I reckon. There is a couple big things, though. Thursday night games before I finish have been brought forward 10 minutes, so they now start later by 10 minutes, and then Friday night games now start 10 minutes earlier than before, and the only other thing that I have out of interest as well is this new look Sunday, which is not going to look like this every time, but it does seem to be going along kind of a thing like this, so it'll be interesting to see how that new look Sunday will be next year. But thank you guys. Please do feel free to let me know your thoughts on this fixture in the comment section. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Please do make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you guys in the next video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much. Bye everyone. Flame Footy out.